Hey, faithful listener. This is your disclaimer to know that there are some discussions in this episode that tend to lean more towards adult topics. Typically, we try to keep a fairly general audience and viewer-friendly vibe to the podcast. And in this issue, we do discuss some things that are a little bit more on the adult side due to the content in the comic book that we read. So, if you typically listen in front of little ears, or maybe you shy away from things that tend to lean more towards the adult, please be aware that in this issue, we are going to discuss some of those types of things. Otherwise, now that that's out of the way, enjoy the issue.
While we're doing this thing?
I'm Patrick.
I'm Chris.
This is Will.
And we are Guys with Issues.
That was not in order, though. That was all wrong.
Exactly. And we are going to use it. So in this episode today, we are talking about Saga, Volume 1. But before that,
Yep.
Pat, you have anything?
I got nothing.
Wow. That'll be a easy... Oh. Nope. Never mind.
Are we doing this?
We already did
Well, I
it.
thought we were doing it.
No, I'm asking. Are we redoing
Sure.
that or no?
No, who
Are we
cares?
leaving it? All right, cool.
We're just going to mess it all up.
Do I have anything? I'm going to go see Oppenheimer this weekend.
Oh, wow.
You already saw it. We
I
talked
did.
about it last week, but
You are in for a treat.
yeah. I guess I'll find that out.
Yeah, those parts that I mentioned, they're small and kind of obvious when they show up, but, well, right beforehand, but
I've really been enjoying Strange New Worlds.
Oh, yeah?
They've been knocking it out of the park.
I do not know what this is.
This is
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek.
Oh, okay.
We really do need to expand your Star Trek knowledge.
Yeah.
We're going to. While you were running an errand, Pat had me add a Star Trek comic to our read list.
Sweet.
So,
Was it the one that I suggested, or is it a
Yep.
different one?
nope, it's on there.
Sweet.
Yep. So, Christoph, our very first emailer, will finally, after months of waiting, get some
Months
Star
of
Trek
waiting. Star Trek.
into this podcast.
You think
Krista.
you think he'll read?
He owns
time?
this.
He owns
Oh,
it.
he owns. So Christoph, you've read this.
And
Well,
if you haven't,
If he hasn't,
you
this is
better read along,
This is-
mister.
this would be the excuse he needs to read it. So
Yeah, stick all those board games away for half an hour and just read a comic. Why don't you?
Man, could he go a half an hour without board gaming?
I'm sure he can.
Oh,
I've
sure
seen him
hope
do
so.
it.
really?
Yeah.
Does he keep pieces in his pocket? He have like Dyson meeples in his pocket?
That I
Well, I
don't
know he's got
Little cubes?
He's got that hat with the dice on it because that's how I lost him that one time at Gen Con.
Would you find somebody else with a hat with dice on it, and you
Dude,
followed
it was literally the exact same hat. So it was opening ceremony. We were all next to each other, right?
Uh-huh.
And then him and Chris had like this one specific spot they wanted to go to. So that's where they
We were
hauled
getting
first, right?
photosynthesis. We went to buy
There
photosynthesis
you go.
when it launched. Yeah.
And
Which is a
I was
mean two-player game. Too mean.
there were so many people that people got in front of me, but I was following by his hat. But I kind of lost track of him a little bit. There's this dude with the exact same hat who was almost the exact same height as Christoph. And so I was following this guy. I'm like, where are they going? And I finally see his face, and it wasn't him. It was just
Isn't-
the exact same hat.
Too funny.
That's literally how Macaulay Culkin misses the plane in Home Alone.
Right. It is.
That is what happens at the airport.
And so I was just by myself at Gen Con for
Will
about
Macaulay
half an
Culkin
hour.
himself. He Home Alone himself.
I was Gen Con
Kevin!
alone.
Gen Con alone.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's funny though that you had a real life Home Alone experience.
Yeah, it happened.
As an adult, even.
Oh, yeah, I was.
Just imagine how scary that'd be as a kid. Then
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that would be...
don't
I would
know.
not want to take a small child to opening day at Gen Con. I wouldn't want to try to keep track of
I
them.
wouldn't want to take any child to Gen Con.
Just in general.
Yeah.
In Gen Con role.
All right. I don't want to be in charge of somebody like that. Forget that.
Well, if I had that attitude, I would never do anything.
This is true.
You grow into the being in charge part.
I have a couple
Yeah,
of
you-
nieces and nephews.
You just learn to manage it.
If I really
Oh,
wanted to be in charge of
dude,
somebody, I'd borrow one of them for a while.
No.
Practice the skills. Develop
Right.
them with your niece.
Although at this point it'd be weird because they're like 14, 15. Well, the youngest is like 15.
The youngest?
The youngest.
Man, that's got to make you feel kind of old.
Yeah. The
I know we
oldest
joke
is
about it, but like that has to make you feel kind of old.
like 24, 25 now.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yep.
Anyway,
Crazy.
that was my
So yeah,
Home Alone story, I guess.
been watching Strange New Worlds, which is amazing. I cannot wait for Lower Decks to come back out. Season 3. It's going to be amazing. Also Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thought I would clarify.
They did a crossover,
They
didn't
did
they?
a crossover.
Yeah, I heard about that.
My favorite
So-
episode so far.
So are the Lower Decks people live action?
Yes.
Really?
The people who voice the Lower Decks people
Play their
play
characters?
their characters.
That's funny.
In the episode.
I'll have to look up a clip.
I mean, we just watch it after this.
It would
I
be lost on me other than the fact that,
I mean,
I just...
sure. We could still watch it. I need to watch it again. Like it's imperative. I watch it again.
Need, I feel like, is a strong
No,
word.
no need. Definitely
No need.
No need.
It's a no need.
no need.
What about you, Wilhelm?
Oh, not much.
Anything?
Nope.
Nothing new, huh? Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have had anything going on lately.
I will.
I mean, just working on the podcast. I need to redo my front porch.
Yeah, that's fun. Is there a specific reason you need to redo your front
It's
porch?
old. Like the deck boards are starting to like come up at the ends,
Yeah.
and it's like it's past the point.
They're
of
flying
saving.
away.
You thinking?
Yeah,
You thinking just regular wood, or you gonna do composite something?
I'll
or-
probably just do regular wood again. That composite stuff is. I mean, what I want to do is really small, so I could go composite because I wouldn't need a lot. But that composite is real expensive.
It really is.
Like
pretty
at
nice
the
stuff,
at the
but-
height of like the prices going up, and people always doing their homes, and like the pandemic, I think I saw a 12-footer was like $45 for a board or more. Yeah, it was nuts. I'm like,
That
I
is
would-
crazy.
not want to have to be redoing my deck back then, but
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
no, thank you.
Chris.
I recently bought a new vehicle, which now would be a few months ago when this airs. But I did buy a new vehicle because I needed to replace mine.
And
And it's pretty nice so far.
I'm guessing when you say a new vehicle, you mean a used
vehicle
Okay.
because I don't have the money to buy something new, nor do I don't really think buying brand new vehicles is a great financial investment only because of the immediate depreciation on a new vehicle. It's hard to get.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like one of the biggest depreciation percentages of anything you can buy.
I mean, unless you're running into the ground, and then
No, if you keep it for the majority of the rest of your life, if you don't drive a lot, it probably wouldn't be too bad.
That's what my dad just did.
Yeah.
He bought a brand new truck. Had like 5 miles on it.
Oh.
My mom's like, "It's the last truck you're ever gonna need."
No,
right there.
legit though. Yeah.
So she's like, I already got it scheduled out, all the oil changes and stuff to keep it,
right.
keep everything up on it,
Mm-hmm.
all the different warranties, and so it's the last. He's at that age where it's very likely going to be the last vehicle he's ever going to own
Yeah.
or need.
Yeah. How's that make you feel, Brad?
Driving into work right now in your brand new truck.
being called old, saying that that's the last thing you're ever gonna need. But I mean, buying something. So I bought a van, and with what I paid for it, what I've paid for every vehicle I've ever owned, I'd probably be maybe about halfway on what a new one would cost. Maybe.
Pretty good.
With like every vehicle I've ever bought in my life, if I added them up, I think it's about half the price of a new one.
Yeah.
So
I cannot say that
about vans.
about vehicles.
Yeah.
Have you ever owned a van, Pat?
I have not. I'm not opposed to vans. There's nothing wrong with vans.
I never really
Just
wanted
haven't
one,
ordered
but
bought one.
I'm a big fan of
Big
van.
fan
a
of
big
vans?
van fan.
You're a van fan?
I am now
Like a
with the
dashboard van
stow
fan?
and go seats and stuff. Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Spoken like a real dad. Once you have one, a van, not a dad, but you're like, oh, this has a lot of use if I get the right ones.
No.
So it's not too bad. Not too bad. Plus, I like having the option if we do have people going places, you can be like, hey, you guys can ride with me. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I like to drive. I don't like to ride with people very much. I do it.
Love driving.
I do too.
Me too. We need a vehicle where all three of us can drive.
It just switches. It has like a countdown.
Oh, man.
Toot, toot, toot. Okay, it's me now. Okay, I got it, guys. Okay, what's my mile countdown? Okay, in 10 miles, it's switching to you, Pat. That'd be kind of cool. It'd be interesting.
Crazy handy for
You
long
would have
road
to.
trips.
You would have to
That really
be
would
paying
be.
attention. It would have really specific beeps beforehand, like.
Yeah.
Like you think your car's little like beep, you're diverging from the lane are
Yeah.
annoying. This would have to be like,
I mean,
heavy, dude. Like you'd have to make sure you have somebody's attention.
if you think about it mechanically, you'd probably have to pull over and stop the car for it to mechanically shift.
Unless it's all linked together.
No, not. It could be electronically linked as long as there were multiple steering wheels, multiple pedals, things like that.
Plus, I don't think anything you technically touch on a car these days is mechanically linked to anything on the engine.
Yeah, I was thinking about like older trucks. I've owned
sure,
a couple, but in order to switch between 2-wheel and 4-wheel, you had to be stopped because if you didn't,
Yeah, well, now you hit
Right.
like a button and it goes whoop, like a transformer.
yeah. All of a sudden, all the wheels have power. Let's go.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of that's really the only thing. Everything's pretty normal.
Yeah,
House, work, pod, like that's,
just living life.
Pod.
yeah, family time. I'm going to be going to the beach with my sister's family tomorrow. Silver Beach. That's the one up, right? Dune-ish kind of thing.
I have no
Sure,
idea.
I've never been, but they go and they invited us because we've been trying to hang out with them recently. So
There you go, listener.
yeah,
If you have a time machine, you can meet Chris at the beach.
There you
yep.
go.
Because by the time you're hearing this, it's probably started to chill in the air.
Probably.
That's good. That's fine.
Yeah.
Is this when I have to do the synopsis? Do I have to do it?
You want to?
You took my role. He did.
You did.
If you want to read it, I wrote one.
You have plenty of roles. though,
Should
so you're good.
I
Do you want?
read what you wrote, or do I have to
No.
make it up?
I think you should do the synopsis.
Wow, he stole my part though.
Yeah,
just-
and he's doing a good job.
Oh, so it
I'm-
gets
I'm
to
a
be
good
the Will
thief.
show. The Will show.
Yes, I've taken over.
Take it all. Take it all.
Oh, do it.
Man,
Pat's
I'm telling
doing it
you.
next time.
I'm telling you,
Pets.
this has been a saga.
Oh, good transition.
So,
Pat's giving me that manager stare. Be like, you better read that synopsis, boy.
I love how you clear your throat every time.
It's part of the show.
That's what I'm saying. I love it.
I should put timestamps. Will clears throat.
Yes. When two soldiers on opposite sides of a galactic war fall in love and bring a new life into the world, they are forced to go on the run as both sides attempt to take from them what they now hold most dear. Having to battle against old allies, freelance mercenaries, and diaper changes, their commitment to one another will surely be put to the test. Will they make it out alive, or will their new bid for freedom and a life of peace be cut short? Find out today on Guys with Issues.
We could just put that in the beginning of each episode.
Good. Or no.
No, I mean,
Either
it
way.
works. I'm just saying. I just like because with the Guys with Issues, then we just do that. Put his synopsis and then
So
do the
instead of
music.
doing the whole thing, just put that
No,
in and
it's
just start
established.
talking.
We're going to keep doing it how we do
I
it.
mean, it's not that. It's 17 issues isn't really all that established.
It's established.
16,
Structure
17?
Steve has spoken.
Hey,
No,
we had to
this
listen to
is-
Structure Steve.
We have built upon the foundation.
Are we debating how many issues this is? Is that what you...
He's asking.
I
yeah.
thought
it
it
was
was 17.
It is
around there.
officially... This is 16. This is 16.
I was one ahead.
Well, we're going to have... I mean, that's counting our numerical issues. Our special issues from earlier don't... So technically, this would be 17 or 18.
no, you
But
see.
the specials don't get numbered. So, as usual,
As
did we like it? What did we do? What
What do we
think?
do? Your Structure Steve. What do we
Hey,
do?
this is when we just have our
but then,
non-official chat about it,
Okay.
right?
See,
This
there
is-
you go. Structure
So,
Steve. Thank you.
so for all of you who
know.
read along, hopefully you took our advice from last issue and you did not read it around anybody under the age of 18 and not at work.
Correct.
yes.
I believe you.
Yeah, good. Unbelievable.
Well, I personally enjoyed it.
I would think so because you own it.
I do.
Yeah. Will, I'm curious to know, you're the wild card.
Yes.
I had read the first issue. That's as far as I got the first time somebody suggested me reading it. I read the first issue and said, this is not for me.
You're like, I don't
Yes.
like this.
Maybe I got into the
Throw
second
it
issue.
into the
was-
trash.
After knowing Pat liked it, I was kind of shocked about
That I
the
liked it?
content.
Oh,
I didn't like.
He
I
doesn't
didn't-
know you the way your Discord does. I'm just kidding.
wow.
Like all other Pat stuff is pretty, PG.
He talks about how much he likes Punisher Max all the time.
Punisher Max is really
Not all the time.
But he didn't. He did say that he wasn't a big fan of. Oh no, never mind. That was from the Fabled issue.
Oh.
Say it anyway.
I was gonna say he did talk about how he wasn't a big fan of.
No, what I said. Never mind.
Because of them not having likable characters and things.
Yes.
But that content would be similar more to what's in this, like that kind of
Content.
more
sure, yeah.
more adult
More
content.
adult content.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed
But-
to the adult content.
But
I'm
you
opposed to-
probably found these characters likable, is why you
Jerks.
liked this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about you?
I mean, I liked it. It did suffer from like the beginning of the story kind of thing where it's just getting started, so you don't
Sure.
really know a whole lot. And so if we
I mean,
read
it is
more,
the introduction.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I would have continued reading this upon release.
Yeah,
Because
like
it-
if
it
you would have
was-
picked up issue 1
Yeah.
and went through the 6,
Yeah.
you would have gone to Nick and said,
Yeah.
"Sub me,
Yeah.
put me down."
Put me down.
Yeah.
I'll keep riding.
That's cool. I'm the total opposite, and it isn't because of the content. I don't like it.
Speaking of the adult content, it's the one thing that kind of threw me off. It's almost as if the writer of this just discovered swear words because they use them, but they didn't use them well. Like it's almost like they didn't know how to curse.
What?
I didn't pick
I know.
up on that at
You and
all.
I feel like we're both like, you're gonna have to expound on this thought because I don't understand. You're
Because,
saying
like-
they poorly swear.
Yeah.
As a
because-
swearing connoisseur.
So I
is
will
that-
use
Swearing.
an example. It's like you don't use the well, I guess I can say this without actually saying the words.
Well,
You
I
don't
can
drop,
beep it out too.
You
I
don't
don't
drop
care.
the F-bomb 2 times in a row.
I
Really?
remember that part.
So like, F the bloody F blah blah blah. He used it like F word something and another F word. I'm like,
I mean,
that's
sometimes people do that.
Well, I was
Yeah, but
this did they say no? Doesn't she or somebody say like effing F or something like that, like
Yeah.
holy effing F or something like that? Was that in this?
Yeah, something like
Something
that.
like
Yeah.
that, where they said the F word to describe the F word in one
I think
speech bubble,
maybe.
maybe?
I think that happened. Yeah,
Something like that, maybe.
and it's when you're
Which,
speaking, it's a little bit different.
The language is throughout it, but it isn't like all the time.
No, and
And so, for those of you who didn't read, it isn't like there's an F word on every page.
No,
it isn't
it
like
is
that. It's just
only
that it
during-
does have it.
only during stressful moments or
Yeah, when
something
they're
really-
having normal conversations, the dialogue is fairly realistic, I would almost say.
Yeah.
Would you say that? Like the kind of
would.
exchanges people would have.
yeah, of modern.
Yeah.
Day.
Oh, so that's one thing that I just am not a huge fan of sometimes in settings that feel fantastic, which this can be argued because it's very sci-fi as well.
It is.
There are people with TVs for heads whose bodies mold into weapons.
Which is a
right?
pro in my pro column. Sci-fi.
Wait. Well, yeah,
Well, it
like
has
big time,
spaceships.
big time. Yeah, it does have a tree spaceship,
Which
so
is amazing.
that
I
has
love that.
that
fact.
does have my favorite line in the whole book.
Oh.
When she goes, "You don't steer a rocket, you ride it."
I know, right?
That's my favorite. That is my favorite line in the whole book.
That's a good line.
in the whole thing. So,
The whole arc.
the whole story arc, which would be this would be a singular graphic novel. You have the big book. I read this like what I read this on. It ended at this after the 6th issue,
Okay.
where yours has like 48 or issues or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my favorite. That was my favorite line. Like
Yeah.
I liked that a lot.
Oh. Crap.
Sorry.
I had something, and then
You were talking about the swearing usage, and
yeah,
then
I had something after that.
my bad.
Oh, anyway.
So it sounds like you didn't like it, Chris.
I knew I didn't like it. I've tried to read it before. This would have been Will's 3 issues of X-Men wanting to stop. I can't say I wanted to stop, but I love fantasy. I love that setting. Can love it. I love sci-fi, and so that aspect was really good. And it's not that I thought it was poorly written. I thought it was very well written. The dialogue was well done. The plotting, I felt like the pacing was good.
Yeah, yeah.
And the art's amazing.
I remembered. Reading it reminded me of the you shared with me that one comic before we ever did when we still worked together, and
Before this was a fever dream in Patrick's mind.
yes, we had never even thought this would ever happen. But it was almost like a Dungeons and Dragons style. And they had the
Rat
3
Queens.
Yeah,
I've read some of the Rat Queens.
the
We could add that on here. We've all read it though, so it's a little different
Right.
because this is more like we try to read stuff that we
Yeah,
haven't all
yeah.
read. But anyway, sorry. So the
no,
Rat
but
Queens.
like the writing style is very reminiscent of the dialogue in the Rat Queens because it was also a fantasy setting, but they talked like we would talk today, and
and it's
but
even it's crasser than this.
it is a little bit crasser, and the person who wrote it knows how to swear, and so I would say it's a little bit better.
Yeah, Rat Queens is fun. I read a few volumes of that. I don't.
I only ever read the one. I can't remember if it was an issue or
You would have read the first graphic novel.
graphic novel because
Yeah.
you gave it to somebody we worked with.
Yeah, Gina loves them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, so the art is amazing.
It is.
Fiona Staples, amazing
yeah.
artist. I would want to see art from them on anything.
Yeah.
really cool style, very kinetic action when there's action, but like you get good vibes in the environments. I mean, just like it's beautiful artwork. I think the artwork in this is an argument on how comics can be art, you know.
Sure.
But having said that, because like when we come to rate it later, if I was basing it just on the quality of construction, the rating will be much higher than what I end up giving it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I can acknowledge that. I can understand why people like it. It's just not for me. I don't love the main characters. I don't know. It's not that I don't know if I'd say they aren't likable to me. But I wasn't a big fan. I will say I don't want to say too much about favorite characters or anything. We'll get to that, right? But I love like the aesthetics. I love the, for the most part with the art styles. I'm kind of, the first time I read it, I wasn't a big fan of the TV heads. That was,
It's a little strange.
I was
It is a little
like, I
strange,
don't know
but
if I
it's
like that.
I think it's a good
It's interesting,
representation.
though.
Good representation because it's like tech versus magic, like science versus magic.
Kind of, but like the people that serve under them aren't tech. I mean, they use guns. They have
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
That was very apparent in like the
they're
very
like
first
fairies,
scenes.
though.
The people who serve them are.
That's what I'm saying.
You
But
don't
like
see
the
a lot.
royalty is the TV heads.
Yeah. And are they actually robots?
Like,
Like what?
I don't know. They can. I mean, they definitely seem like organic machines. They can get pregnant.
Yeah.
The first time you read it and you flip that first page, the first introduction to TV heads is
Right.
an adult
Channel
moment.
4.
But it was, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it. It is not, and maybe it is that if anybody hasn't been able to tell after sticking with us for this long, I tend to be the more prudish one of the group. I'm the one that talks about, because I have kids and things like that, like being picky about what I watch and what I read and what I can have in front of them. And, you know, there's lots of reasons for that, beyond just my kids. And maybe it's just my own personal taste where that tends to not be where I gravitate as much. Not that I think it less of anybody that has no problem with it. It's just not my thing as much.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, you're like, because I really liked this. I was hoping you'd make a comment. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy aspects of it. It's just as a whole, for some reason, it just doesn't click with me. I don't know. That's just, you know, Will was so down on his last time. I had to be the bottom one again. Try to.
Oh, yeah. We can trade.
But no, I thought I love how goofy. I will say something that I think we all should acknowledge is with the map, when they get like the map and it sounds like a fairy tale map, and they're
right.
like, oh, the rocket ship forest, and it'd be like, it's not this, but it'd be like the gumdrop bridge and like stuff. But it actually is all real stuff, you know. That was fun. I like
That's
that.
good.
Yeah.
I think I like the fact that this happened in the past because the narrator is the child.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the narrator is the baby that is born
Is the
in the
baby
beginning.
that's born
Yes.
in the very first page.
Yep.
Or 2 pages, whatever.
Which I've been around childbirth. That was an alien childbirth for sure.
Well, they are aliens. I like the fact that because you know, at least the child survives. It's almost like you're rooting for the underdog in the whole thing. You
Well-
got 2 very powerful organizations, or whatever you want to call them, trying to get rid of this couple, and they seem to be succeeding. I like that portion, that part of it. I like how random stuff happens. Like just stuff comes out of left field, which really
Like the horrors.
like the horrors.
Mhm.
That's one, yeah. And it kind of, in my mind, makes the universe that they're in just seem, I don't know, more populated, more vast, more anything can happen.
Yeah, it definitely has an element in its unrealistic setting of almost the unpredictable nature of realism
Right.
in a way, like taking the assumptions and what you expect and turning them upside down.
Right.
Because sometimes that's what life's like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I really like that part of it.
I do too. I would agree that is one aspect of it that I thought it's super well done.
I really like the two main characters. I think they've done stupid things, but like the one guy who's really good at fighting, wanting to not fight anymore, and
like really good at fighting too.
like really good at fighting.
Yeah, that towards the end of it, right when they report on him, they're like, "No, he's like a monster."
Right.
Like, it's dude, and you know he's trying not to fight, and I do like that idea that if he doesn't hold back, he's like a force of nature almost.
Right, which is great. I mean, I don't know. There's
Also,
a
I
whole
like
lot that I
the
like
laser swords. When we say laser swords, it's not like Star Wars. It's like they slash, they concentrate energy,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
a
like
magic.
a projectile magic
Yeah.
slash.
Right.
So
like
I-
Link's sword,
I do hope they were.
the Master Sword.
Yes. Just hit the ground. It would be funny if some of that stuff was foreshadowing, because in that fight, he chopped someone's hand off. And
I mean, they called it out that
he-
he might be back in a very
he said something
interesting
to,
way.
it's like, oh, I feel like I've cursed us. And his wife says, yeah, in our future, some guy with a hook is going to be chasing after our daughter.
Right.
So later on, is there a guy with a hook that shows up?
you hope so.
I hope so.
Right?
I really do think, that would be great.
But they're like, this is an immediate problem. We'll worry about those later. Was their reasoning. They're like, we have to solve this now. Also, did you read the names of their helmets? Did you look at the art in some of those scenes?
Some
I know
of
you do. The soldiers that came up on them had names etched into their helmets.
Didn't notice.
Some of them I wouldn't even put on this to beep out.
No, I didn't know. I'll have to go back and look. What?
You get the book.
Oh, they put it on the table there.
Yeah, you guys can keep talking. I'll pull it up. But
But I don't know. I like the characters. I like that to be honest, I like that the main character actually nobody seems to be a really horrible person. There are people who do bad things, but the main characters
The part
don't seem
where I would agree with Chris on stuff that kind of would bother me is when the one freelancer whose name
Goes
is
to
the
the-
Will
the will.
Go-
I know,
Goes,
I was going to say.
goes to Starship Whoopi.
Yeah, I did not like that part.
And then the part that really got me was when they brought the little slave girl, and it was just
Right. Yeah, that was horrible. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Things that we aren't going to say on air.
Things that I'm not going to
Yeah,
say not on
you-
air.
You
That's what I'm saying, though. It's got that kind of
It
stuff
does.
in it, though.
And yeah.
You know,
you just got to pay attention to the artwork sometimes because they put little details in there.
it tells you a lot about the character that it's.
Yeah, you get a whole background to a guy with just 2 words.
Yeah,
Will?
well, speaking of the Will, okay, let's talk about him. for a
Hi, I'm
minute.
here.
I hope
I've
you're
been
not the
waiting
same
for
one.
this moment.
But by the way, I thought it was interesting. Again, the 2 freelancers ships, the Will and the
The stalker.
Stalker. I thought that their ships were both interesting too.
Yeah.
The spaceships in this are cool.
I
They're
do like
very
the
interesting.
spaceships.
But the Will, it was interesting because speaking of the scene that you guys were talking about, where the sex trafficker basically brings out this little girl, and then the Will crushes his head
Yeah.
and tries to take her, and they're like, "You can't take her. You can buy her, but you can't take her." And they have it so she will die if she leaves, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So he can't just gunfight his way out. I thought it was interesting because part of me, he's a villain to the main characters. He's whether a freelancer is a bad guy or it's a bounty hunter or whatever. You're taking a job. You're getting paid. You're doing your job.
And he shows back up later because in the little girl's narration, like the Hazel's, she talks about in that scene, like, oh, some monsters aren't,
Some monsters are worse than others or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
So he comes back later.
But I mean, they still call him a monster in that scene too, though.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking is, as a character, I could never tell if we were supposed to like him. I felt like the crushing of the head was the author's way, Brian K. Vaughan, his way of trying to do that whole save the cat, like in literary and screenplay terms. You have a character do something noble, save a cat, save a baby, do something like that to try to endear them to the audience specifically. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know if that was meant to be like, yeah, he's bad, but you shouldn't think he's totally bad. And that was like the purpose of that, besides giving him like a motivating factor to keep chasing them.
Right.
Because he had given up at that point. And so knowing what the payout is, he's like, okay, I'm going to go after him now because I need the money to save this girl. Mm-hmm. So now if he doesn't catch them, like, are you supposed to be conflicted knowing that this girl is stuck if he doesn't succeed? Or like, are we meant to kind of pull for him a little bit? Are we supposed to look at him like he isn't a villain? I wasn't really sure because I never felt like, I still never really, I guess, looked at him like he would be any type of somebody to look at differently than how he was established in the beginning, which was an antagonist. I don't know. I think they want you to like him.
Probably.
I think they want you to be a bit conflicted on who to root for, and
other than
you
like
have
the
reasons,
baby.
right? And you have reasons why you want, like, you're like, well, I mean, if the main characters do get captured by the will, it's not all bad because he's going to save that girl. But if they get captured by him, then that story's going to end because
it's
obviously
it's
they're going
bad for
right.
them.
It's bad, and I think they're just trying to do more of a look. Not everything's black and white.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like that I think the feeling is the whole book is kind of gray, right?
I don't know if they really want you to like root for the will, but I think they're trying to give you, look, this guy's not so bad, so there's a reason he's doing what he's doing.
Also, he must be super strong to crush a skull with his bare hands.
He probably is.
I'm guessing freelancers tend to be a little bit above normal. But
Well,
they're all aliens. Everybody is alien.
Yeah, the stalker was like a spider lady.
Yes, a
So I
topless
was-
spider lady.
I was wondering what...
Those are what
Oh, is there a name for
there's an
that?
actual name for that type.
Like in fantasy stuff? Oh.
Hmm.
I know Japanese lore has like a half spider, half woman thing. It's like a monster in their folklore.
Yeah, there's.
It's in Rising Sun, the board game. There's a piece.
Yeah.
But like, I think the freelancers seem interesting. Obviously, they're an organization that gets hired out to do jobs. And then you have two people groups who are fighting that it doesn't seem like anybody's necessarily in the right.
No.
We don't know what the conflict ultimately is about other than they've been fighting, kind of.
And they could just be expanding upon the whole like galaxy because towards the beginning, the two main protagonists talk about how the whole galaxy is rotten and they just need to find a new one and try and get out to wherever it is that she said.
You mean the lighthouse place?
So
Yeah.
they're called Arachnos. Arachnos. Yeah.
Are they in like Dungeons and Dragons or something? I didn't know where you'd heard of it.
To be honest, EverQuest.
Oh, there you go.
I know there's something like that in Diablo 3.
Yep.
But again,
they're
I
a
think
thing.
they're like a folklore monster.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I like that. I like that all of her legs as a spider though all had hands. Mm-hmm. Every single one had hands on it, which was super weird.
Yeah.
Also, they mentioned that they were intimate at one time, and I'm like, that's gotta be weird. Because my mind goes, how does that work?
I mean, I just kind of kept going.
Well, that's because your brain works differently than mine. My brain has to go, how does that work? What is that?
I mean, I feel like I say that with other things.
Not giant alien spider ladies.
Right. I'm just like, hey, whatever. And I keep going.
Yeah.
But if it comes to seeing a stealth vessel outside of an asteroid, I'm just like, how does that work?
So,
Yes.
yeah. See, I'll cut all those out. So, yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Cool.
And
cool.
how?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't really have any.
But again, though, I thought that, the artwork was super cool. Like,
Yeah, I really enjoy the
It's-
artwork.
man, that's something that you just, it's like even the bloody bits and like different things. And I mean, it was just, it always looked so pretty, right? So,
I do like how the monitor head people, the royals
Yeah.
or whatever, they
I think they're called like
it's almost like their screen. They can't always control what it shows.
no, it definitely shows like stuff that's going through their minds sometimes.
Right.
I think
I
that-
think
that
they
might just-
can control it, but I think sometimes if they're like really emotional one way or the
Yeah, I
other,
think
it'll
that's-
show something like a flicker
Visually
of
to-
something or
Show like that guy's PTSD.
yeah. I mean,
Like Prince Channel 4.
I found that also interesting as well.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad for him. He's like, I've been fighting this war and I'm supposed to be home, and now and I have a pregnant wife, and now I can't come back.
Yep.
But again, so everybody is like kind of at an impasse and trying to succeed through the same channels, and you kind of go, man, all of these guys' lives suck. All of them.
Yeah, really. They do.
Everybody's life sucks in Saga. Maybe that's why I don't like it.
And it's
Maybe because it's like it's so pretty, and like the dialogue from the narrator, who's the baby, is supposed to sound hopeful. Like she has a hopeful outlook and like all this stuff. But like everything is so dreary as a theme that maybe that's why it doesn't click with me. I tend to not like stuff like that.
I also find it interesting that the war
Real
between
life's enough like that.
the war between the planet and the moon
Yeah.
spilled
Cleve and
across,
landfall. Cleve and
Yes.
landfall.
Yeah.
spilled across the entire galaxy.
Wreath.
Wreath.
It's
That's
That's
Wreath.
what it is.
Cleve
And then Cleve was the planet they were on when
Yeah,
Hazel was
that's
born.
what it
it's
was.
Wreath and landfall. That's right. Yeah, like they're like, well, we can't keep killing each other on our planets because it's just not going to work. Or
Also,
the things we live on. So we're going to just start hiring other races to do this war with us, and it just took the
Yeah.
whole universe down with it.
whole galaxy, and it's like a proxy. But
Right. Which
I
is
found when I first read that little plot thread of like the moon versus like the entire planet, it's like kind of unrealistic because if you think about the population of an entire planet, it has to exceed like the population of a moon.
well, it also
by
depends on
landmass.
logistics and everything
And
else.
like landfall would have so many more resources than the moon would.
Sure.
So how did they not immediately lose?
I mean, you don't know that in science fiction. You don't know what
I mean,
resources and what
it seems-
livable, inhabitable planetary land there is.
The only
But I
thing
will
could
say it
think
seems
is-
I don't disagree with you. I'm playing the devil's advocate.
Yeah,
But-
because I think I remember this in like this was a plot in some other game or movie I had.
I guess it would depend on
Consumed.
who the aggressors were at the start of it. What
Also,
their
how
technology level
powerful.
was at.
Because like I'm just gonna tell you the people from Wreath, the moon,
They have magic.
their magic seems like
Really
that's
powerful.
the only-
really powerful.
The only thing they could have done is use that magic to keep going.
I mean, we
It's
saw
possible.
Marco kill a whole squad of soldiers.
Yeah. So
So if like one
There-
of them can be worth that much potentially, like maybe that's what it is.
maybe that's what it was. But I read that and they talked about how long the war was going on for. And I just thought it seems a little unrealistic for a much smaller force to hold out and contend with someone that potentially could have a much, much larger.
Come on. You saw the movie 300.
Dude,
They all died. Yeah, they lost.
in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Hey, I honestly think I had the same thought though. Like, man, it seems like a pretty big war for how it started or something.
Yeah.
Like, I think I had that thought. But then again, I feel like your beef with this is similar to Patrick's beef on the last issue with the gene manipulation thing.
Yeah, I really
feel
didn't
like
want to bring it up, but that was.
But
thinking
that's
the
kind of
same
how it
thing.
feels like that. Like Pat's look of the semi-realistic look at the gene manipulation for morality is kind of like your realistic look at the moon versus the planet.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting in the middle, figuratively and literally.
Yeah. It's also one of those weird stories where they've created two ideologies basically that are clashing and everything is horrible, but then you look deeper on an individual level, like, you know, the freelancer Prince Robot guy, and you feel bad for the individual.
Right.
But you know, these two ideologies that are clashing are creating horrible instances in which, you know, whole towns or whole planets have their population killed off.
Yeah, I don't know. I just this first story just it makes me want to know what happens.
Yeah. And did they establish why they're at war though?
No, they didn't know. It's been going on so long.
That's what it is, right?
They
Yeah,
said
okay.
it's been going on so long, nobody remembers why it's happening. They just keep
And
going.
it wouldn't surprise me if eventually that gets revealed as well.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Because
Sounds
they said
like
Hazel's got to be like a soldier of hope or like some kind of. They've already set her up to be something special because they've said that there have been others born of like a mixed breed, but they all die within a day. It's been
I thought it was
several.
a year, but yes.
No, I'm pretty sure it was a day.
Okay.
And she's been alive for several weeks.
I think they're setting her up to be the end of the war
Probably.
or the catalyst for the end of the war.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
My guess is that
But it sounds like we're done with Saga. So,
Why?
because you hated it. Oh,
I didn't hate
I'm
it. I just
just
didn't
kidding.
like it. Technically, Will didn't like X-Men, but we talked about reading the
That's
next
true.
part of
That's
that.
true.
As long as I finish the reading assignment and am not punished, then we can read whatever.
got to come up with a fun punishment, though.
yeah, we do.
Yeah, mustard ain't working on me.
No. Oh,
So,
I get the soundboard.
oh, dang. Man. I don't ever want you to have the sound.
That
You
would be a
better read,
punishment.
son.
that would definitely keep me reading.
You think 5 hours of editing is bad?
After everything anybody says. Sounds like a war going on.
Just like in Saga. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, I did like I like the idea of the horrors quite a
Right.
bit. Like, I like how they're telling stories about, like, oh, I've seen the horrors do this and, like, all of that. And then when you meet them, they're like, well, yeah, we can imprint images and make people believe they're seeing something. And that's why people are so afraid of them, is they can literally have them believe whatever they want them to see.
right.
So I thought that was kind of a fun idea, that it wasn't a monster who actually did something. It was actually like a psychological like manipulation. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Because it came up several times.
I also like the name of the gun, the Heartbreaker. I thought, right? Heartbreaker?
Right,
That was
yeah.
her pistol, because it's non-lethal, right? But it makes you feel like super sad.
Super
Because he
sad.
said when he got hit by one once, it like,
Made him feel like his dog died.
yes, like
Yeah.
he was like, it's like my dog died.
Which would be
Debilitating.
Debilitating. Thank you.
Deliberate. No, I'm
It's
just kidding.
deliberately debilitating.
So, okay. Well, I had to throw in some things I liked since, I was the one dogging on it so bad, like a dead dog. But, so, favorite scenes. What's your favorite scene, Pat?
Man, come back to me on that one.
Oh, Will, what's your favorite scene?
It's hard to say. I do like in the beginning, actually, right after Hazel's born, and the door blows open, and it's the blue. They call him the blue blood, which is the guy with the television head, and all the people from I can't remember what the wife's or the mother's name is, and then like all the people from the dad's side come in.
Oh,
And they get into that fire fight.
and they kill each other.
And they're just standing there in the middle. Everything's going around them. And they open their eyes. And just everybody's killed themselves. Except for the snitch mechanic.
Grease monkey.
Yeah, he's literally...
They call him a grease monkey, and
he's
then he's
literally-
an actual monkey. That was funny. That was... I like stupid stuff like that, because in a story like that, you can do that. In that type of story, you can literally be like, oh, the grease monkey snitched us out, and it's a literal, mechanic monkey.
Yeah.
But it kind of gave you... It was kind of a cool... They just got crazy lucky. And kind of showed you how... they're kind of fated to continue going on. And then it's also, you have the people of magic versus the people of science. It was
Right.
had a lot of that kind of imagery happening.
Yeah, I think it set up what they're going to be going through really well as well.
Yeah, so Pat, tell us what spaceship scene was your favorite.
I mean, the spaceship was really cool. The
Rocket.
the tree
The rocket
rocket, the
ship.
rocket tree.
Yeah.
But man, I just had it.
Oops, sorry, I threw you off.
You did. Oh, I think my favorite scene was when he decided to break his oath and take out that large
The
group
squad.
of people. You saw that chain break on his sword. Takes out that squad, and then later's like, nope. Even if I have it, I can't do it. So he breaks it to sacrifice for the tree, so the tree will take off.
Yeah, what does he say? It's probably like something, I don't know if it was made up for this or if the author had read it somewhere, because it seems pretty profound, and I'm not saying he couldn't have, but he says something about like when a man of peace carries a weapon of violence or something. He says something about that. Like as long as you have a weapon of violence, you will find violence. Like you will invite
You will
right?
you will find any excuse you need to
use it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But like said for a sword.
But said for a sword, and much cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was kind of funny.
And I like how his wife's like, I love you and I hate you so much.
Yeah. And then he starts walking into the rocket tree, and the ghost is like, "You're gonna keep that laser pistol," and she goes, "Oh, yeah."
That was like a direct quote, by the way.
Yeah.
Direct quote.
That was like pretty much a direct quote. What was my favorite scene? I thought about the scene you just mentioned because, again, like the energy behind the fight, because there really isn't a lot of direct fighting in this. There are some fights, but usually they're like running from somebody.
Yeah.
They are usually not in a combat kind of stance.
No, usually not.
So getting to see him do that and to see his skill level and like, how scary he can be in essence, I would say that was a cool scene. I would agree that because I considered having that as my favorite, but there's one other scene that I do love when expectations are subverted. And so I do like when he's dying and he says that he loves his former fiance
Right.
or wife, bride. What
No,
is
it was
it?
fiance.
It was fiance, right? It was fiance, and that was fun. And then you get that whole page of her just being like, "Who?" Kind of. And like it ends in that moment,
Right.
and I liked that. That might have been my favorite scene because it was just so. I also like the end scene when they're on the rocket
Oh,
and
I was gonna
the
mention.
grandparents
And
show
the grandparents
up.
show
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
And it said, and that's how Grandma and Grandpa came to live with us, or whatever.
Yes.
I thought that was funny. I really liked that as well. Some other notable scenes. There was one other one that I thought was pretty fun, and it was the rocket. It was like when it first takes off. I love the art for it, like the actual
Oh, yeah.
takeoff of the rocket.
good.
That page is so pretty. Like you could put that as like a poster on your wall or something, man. It was a cool looking page. And so I don't know if I'd count that my favorite scene, but that was
cool.
a neat
It was
scene.
cool.
But yeah, I'm gonna say when he's dying, and she thinks that he's about to say how he'll always love her, and then he says the name of the other person, and then when he's okay, and he sits up and he's like, "Oh, I'm not dead," and then she's like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Oh, crap." That was really funny. That was a good sequence.
It was.
And again, it solidified that they are very grounded characters. I think that they've lived lives and now they're together and they're still, and their whole argument over we're not going to worry about our previous lives. And she's like,
Even though she's definitely got some skeletons back there.
"Oh, big time." I'm actually curious. I am curious to know, like what her skeletons are. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Because of the thing with the romance books, right? And then, I can't
Did she ever
remember.
talk to you about this?
Yeah, like why is he so obsessed with these romance books? And why did he find? I think he found the same book on the stalker's ship, didn't he? Or
Oh,
did he just pull it out?
I think he
No,
pulled it out. That was
He's-
his.
Yes, he's
The one
kept
that it was
that
hers.
copy. Right.
It was her
He's
copy.
kept that copy. Okay, so
I couldn't tell visually if he had found that or if he had just pulled it out from where he kept it.
right. So full disclosure, I've actually read more of Saga than this, listener. I'm just letting you know, listener, that I did that. So I know more.
That was
what's
before
happening.
before we even started the
Before
podcast.
we even started
Like
the
you've
podcast.
read this like long ago.
Right.
Yep.
And I got, I want to say, 5 or 6 of those books. So I'm like a chunk of the way into that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
big one.
Yeah, in your omnibus or compendium.
Compendium.
In your compendium, you're probably like 3/4 of the way through.
Maybe not quite, but around there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, you probably
So-
have an idea of some of these answers.
Yeah, like literally there was a page in there, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was a page in there where a character is thinking about something and it shows right on the page what's going to happen next.
Oh, really?
Yes. And you would have no clue unless you had read further ahead. Which made me like it even more, to be honest.
Oh, that's cool.
I do love moments like that.
Yeah.
Now I want to know what it was.
I can tell you later if you really don't care about
Okay.
spoilers.
Yep. Well, I mean, I don't.
So yeah.
Me neither.
Okay.
So
I'll tell you guys after the pod. That's
yeah.
fine.
Okay. Favorite characters? Favorite character?
Oh man, that's tough. I
Uh,
think
I've-
my
he's
favorite
got one.
character is going to be, what was her name? Elizabeth or whatever it is. The
Will.
horror.
Will,
Isabel?
you're
Isabel.
there. You go. You are our memory. You're the one that retains all of the information that you read. So, you're not only our graphic designer, you are our memory. You are our
Man,
library.
I'm just a hard drive over here.
It's not that hard of a drive. It's only like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's true. You're our, at least at worst, our USB, at best our server. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Isabel. I like Isabel. I like, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
as
She was
a
she
character.
was in my list of notable.
Does that come just from the first arc, or does that come from your view of the whole thing?
That comes from the first
The first arc.
arc.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wondered.
From what we read. Because
Okay.
it has been probably over a year or two.
So this
since I
you'd
have
probably
read.
even forgotten some of the
I had forgotten
stuff.
a lot
Yeah.
of the stuff. But there was other things where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, I know what happens here or what this does or whatever, just because it jogged my memory. But yeah,
What about you, Will?
Interesting.
Is the Will your favorite character
better be.
because
Close.
Dang.
It's Lion Cat.
Lion Cat.
I almost said you're gonna choose Lion Cat.
It's such a cool mechanic, though,
Isn't it?
because it's like, yeah, he's my partner, but all he does is say whether someone's telling the truth or lying. But
Even if it's his partner.
yeah,
That scene's funny though when he sends him back to the ship and he's like, "You wouldn't have had fun anyway," and he's like, "Lying." That was funny. I laughed at that.
yeah, I do like that.
I wondered if you were gonna
mechanic.
pick Lion Cat, dude.
No,
Because it's weird how useful that is
right?
to have just like a cat or a thing that tells you.
An actual lie detector that doesn't, that's actually accurate
To a fault.
to a fault, really.
Yeah.
To a fault. Did you have a runner-up character? I'm just curious.
I also thought Isabel
Yeah.
was a good pick, because she had like accepted her death and was just like, okay, I'm ready to move on. Time to start anew. And I thought that was cool.
I also liked her sarcasm
Oh yeah.
when she'd be like, "Oh yeah, what do I know? I never had kids. I died." She's like, "It's not like I was the oldest out of a family of 9 or 15 or
7.
whatever she said."
7.
Oh, 7.
She's the oldest of 7.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I should have remembered that. My mom is one of 7. But then she's like, "You should have switched boobs like 10 minutes ago when she was breastfeeding." That's funny. Yeah. So I considered Lion Cat and questioned whether or not that's a character really.
Yeah.
But my first, Lion Cat had personality for sure.
100% character.
I also like when Lion Cat's held hostage, and the Will's like, "You pull that trigger and you're dead anyway, man." So I'll tell you. Oh no, I'm gonna maybe save that for my least favorite. My immediate first thought for favorite character was Isabel. No question. She was so fun in her scenes.
Oh, yeah.
And she's always like, "I'm not trying to trick you." And stuff. It's just, it was
went off
her
this
persona.
rock.
Her persona is definitely like an older sibling persona. And it's like a modern day version, but in a fantasy sci-fi setting. And a lot of times I don't like that. But for the way that was done, I did like that. But yeah, it's just funny because Lion Cat and Isabella were the two. Clearly, that just tells me that those two characters were very interesting and well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all three of us had, especially the same mention of Isabella,
Yes.
yeah.
Fun.
What about
Pat?
least
Stuff.
what
Least favorite Pat?
least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole sex club thing.
Yeah.
That was
The sextillion.
Yeah.
Sextillion.
Yeah.
sextillion.
Right.
I did not like that at all.
Yeah, and it has some very graphic background imagery in one or two
It
scenes.
does.
Like
Yeah,
it's
when he's walking through.
yeah, when he's walking down the stairs and stuff. Like it's very in your face.
But then what does it tell you about him that he's like, I thought this place was supposed to have everything? Just like, what exactly was he looking for? Was
I
that
know.
just to be?
Probably another spider chick.
Yeah,
Dude.
Like, yeah, give me some with the 8 legs.
I thought her face was cool though,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
With all the 8 eyes and
Yeah, like
the
how they
slits and
styled
stuff,
her
yeah.
face. I thought it was a very cool design for a character. I thought her face was a really cool design. What about you, Will?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I really even had one.
No?
It was. I'd probably, if I had, I'd agree with Pat. That
Just-
part with the sextillion
Just
ship.
the content of that, like what was going on.
Yeah.
Just horrible.
I mean, it does show the darker side of humanity because
It does.
I always forget the name of that Netflix show.
Black Mirror.
No,
Ah,
it's,
I
it's
thought
the one where they have the chips in their neck.
Oh, Altered Carbon.
Yeah, I was gonna say Inky Black, but I'm like, that's not even a
Inky
thing.
Black.
That kind of did the same thing where they show like the darker side of humanity
With the
those things are-
sleeves and the, what do they call it? It's not Seventh Heaven, is it? Something.
Seventh Heaven is from Final Fantasy VII.
No, it's not. It's a term. Cloud 9. That's what they call it.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the bar.
No, those are both terms, though.
We're not nerds.
No, I knew you were trying to guess the bar.
The club.
The club,
which
yeah,
was
whatever.
like the sextillion.
Yeah.
It was. It was
Yeah.
the same idea. Have you seen Altered Carbon?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is. It's like a similar idea to that.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, I'd agree with that. Everything else kind of had like witty banter and
Yeah.
like cool stuff going on.
Like when the Will learned that the spine, right? This
The stalker.
the stalker.
Yeah.
There we go. S words. Yeah.
Will is the memory. It's
Yes.
okay.
When the Will learned that she had died, his response.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna come kill you after I go kill everyone you ever loved.
Yes, I was like, wow.
Which shows that he's a bad mamma jamma.
Right.
Yeah.
He is not somebody you want to be your enemy.
Anyway, I don't know what brought that on.
I don't know.
What about you? Least favorite?
I mean, it would probably be the sextillion as well. More so because as they took him down to like, oh, you have other tastes and stuff. I was like, oh, like, what is this comic gonna show? Right? Like, there's because of how the comic is.
Right.
I was like, they could show freaking anything in this. And then I was like, please don't let it be a little kid. And it was. And I have friends that work in anti-trafficking agencies. Like, I have friends who do that for a living. And so I've heard like real life stories about it and about like people who are rescued and like all of that stuff. And it is like the darkest avenue of real life humanity. And so I was like, oh man, I hope it's something weirdly kinky and not that, because they could do anything. Again, we're talking about a comic where we've been saying part of the thing that's cool about it is how creative it is on like what it does and how it subverts your expectations.
Right.
And that's the one where I was just like, it's going to be a kid. And it was. And,
Yeah.
and even in that moment where I was like, he smushes the dude's head because he's like, oh, normally I don't participate when he first touches his head. And it feels so gross. Like it just feels
Right.
grimy. Just like in Altered Carbon, even though I love that because it's like a cyberpunk detective story, I hated how that part felt. Like when it gets into the grime of Cloud9, like the feel of that show is so gritty, like so gross. It should be. It should not sit well with you. Like ideally, if it does, then
I mean, I guess that's why
that's not good.
that's why it had to be a kid, because any sane person in that situation would probably have the same thought, like, oh man, I really hope it's not some little kid. And so at the end of the day, it had to be that because it was real.
I also was
Like,
glad that he didn't like walk in the door because I was like, dude, this dude's already like, he's supposed to be a bad guy to them. I was like, if he walks in that door, I'm about done with this book though. Like,
I agree.
For real. Like, I'm glad that they did what they did where he killed the guy that took him and tried to take her out. So again, try to give you a little empathy towards him, a little bit, not knowing how bad of a dude he is. But like, had he walked through that, I was like, if he walks through that door, man, I don't know if I want to keep reading this book.
Well, I mean, at that point, the only thing you knew about him was he accepted the job because he's a freelancer,
Yep.
and he did some freaky stuff with a spider girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that. I mean,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he could be like that. Like, you don't know
right.
the character.
Though now you do know.
Now you do, which is good.
Right.
That was good. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, sure. Sure, I'll pick that. You have a least favorite character?
Probably the Prince Monitor head guy.
The main one. Prince 4. He's your least favorite character? Really?
Mm-hmm.
That actually surprises me. Why?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
You just do not like
I just
him.
do not like him.
Probably because the first time you meet him, he's buck naked.
That could be.
I don't know how I'd feel if the first time I met somebody, they were buck naked.
I mean,
Yeah, that would be weird.
it would be a weird situation all around, I think. Probably
Hopefully they'd feel as awkward as I did.
probably in Florida.
But,
Yeah,
okay.
to be honest, now that I think about it, I might be influenced by stuff that happens later on that.
Okay, because you do know more about him.
I do. So maybe.
Because he comes across to me, from my perception, where I called the Will an antagonist. He's one of the villains in the beginning. He's an antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
The prince seems like the villain. He feels like one. Like in the structure of what we read, if I had to tell you who the villain of the story currently is,
Right.
he would be the villain.
Yes. And I don't know if I'm remembering, like, not really things that he did later on, or just feelings I got from that, or if I got the same vibe from him. I could not tell you.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. What about you, Will? You have a least favorite?
Probably not.
What about pedophile man?
Oh yeah,
You
we
could
can
just
we
say
can,
him. Throw
we
him.
can just throw him.
Well,
in there.
in the Constantine
and then also
issue.
the slave owner, the
Oh.
purple chick.
Yeah,
She's kind of a.
I would think the
Yeah, I
slave
know
owner
that-
would be worse. Well, I don't know if it's
because she's
worse,
the
but
master.
she's the actual one that owns it.
Yeah.
it's-
He was just like basically the waiter,
Yeah.
the concierge. No, it reminds me of the issue 5 with Constantine, because that's where I go, Will, you go, I don't know if I had a least favorite character. I said, Will, just say the devil. The devil is always the worst character, right? And you're like, but that's when we had the whole but if they're bad and you're
Right.
supposed to think they're bad, does that make them a bad character?
Yeah.
And that's when we had the discussion of bad characters can just be the character that you didn't like or didn't, even
Yeah.
if it was that they were written well. And then you were like, I try to think of it like they're not written well, you know?
I guess that's how I always approach it. Like,
Oh yeah, it's just like how we all watch movies differently too, you know what I mean? So you want to know my least favorite characters because my brain hated it. My brain did not like it.
If you say the spaceship, I'm leaving the room.
The spaceship could have been
Pat,
one of my favorite characters.
it's your room.
I don't care. I'm still leaving.
But no.
Go play some
The-
Pikmin.
Go manage some
Go manage some people.
the two TV or face leg ladies
Ooh.
that welcome him to
those are
Sextillion.
so
I
were-
weird and
don't-
creepy.
They were just head and legs.
heads
Yes,
and legs.
but not like normal size head.
No,
like
yeah, they were
like
gigantic.
big head mode,
like
weirdly
torso-sized
exaggerated.
heads.
Yeah, it would be like if you remove a head and arms off of a body,
Mm-hmm.
leave the legs, and turn the torso into a face.
Right.
And they're supposed to be like the cheery welcomers to Sextillion. And I don't know if they're supposed to have some weird sex appeal or what, because they're all leg and mouth or something. I don't know. I don't get it. And it was funky.
It
And
was
my
funky.
brain did not like it. It didn't like it. And it didn't like how they talked to him when he would say stuff and it'd be like, oh, you got to take your weapon off and you got to leave your cat behind and all this stuff. And I didn't like it because it just reminds me of shysters. It was like, these two people are total shysters and they're completely horrifying to my brain. And so they are easily my least
Easily
favorite.
your least
They may be my least favorite characters of anything we've read. They compete with those Constantine devils, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, those were.
I like them less than the Three Stooges from Night Quest. Okay.
Dang.
Oh. It's getting up there.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
fair.
those are my
That's fair.
those were my least favorite. Okay, so if neither of you have anything else to point out, anything else you
Well-
wanted to make sure we didn't forget,
I think that
we got
covers
it.
Yep.
Were you checking your notes?
Yeah, I was looking
Okay.
it over, making sure.
Cool. Yeah, I was trying to make sure I didn't forget anything either. So out of 5, 5 what?
Tree rockets.
Tree rockets,
Obviously.
wood rockets. Yeah, because I was gonna say, I was thinking like we could do broken swords or floating horrors or tree rockets is good though. Out
Tree
of 5,
rockets.
because like it's supposed to be a forest, right? It's supposed to be a rocket
supposed
ship
to be,
forest,
yeah.
right? So, stop dabbing, Will. So
I'm a dabbing Will.
that's why you're the villain.
Are you the Davenwell?
Yep.
He
Why
owns
not?
a Davenport. That was bad.
That was bad. I liked it.
Well, I would give it a 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that was lower than I expected.
Well,
I
give
actually
it the
expected.
benefit of the doubt. I'm like, it could be a lot better.
Mhm.
Like if we continue reading, but 3 is enough for me that I would have continued on.
Yeah,
going.
because it is right in the middle of our, like, if you
Yeah.
think 1 to 5, 3 is in the middle. Now if you do it to 10, then it's like what, 5, which is like
Yeah.
2.5,
Mhm.
which you didn't even give X-Men.
Nope, I told you I wouldn't continue reading it. I wouldn't have continued reading it.
What about you?
I'm somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5.
So it's not quite to. I will suggest this.
No, I wouldn't suggest this. Probably because of all the adult stuff.
But you do like it. Like you said,
I
you
do,
want
I enjoy it.
to get the next book even.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still something that you want in your collection though.
Yes.
But you don't think it would be one that you would really push to
I would
others.
really have to know the other person before I'd be like, hey,
It's
you
not
want
a
to see a bunch
blanket.
of adult situations and
Gore and
Gore
we
and
never said it.
imagery.
Saga. Sex and gore abounds.
right. Saga.
SAGA. Oh, we almost missed it.
We almost missed it. And that's the reason why I wouldn't really recommend it to people.
More for the content.
More for the content of
Okay,
it.
because
But
it's not as so it can't be a 5 to you because it isn't quite universal.
right.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm more leaning towards 4.5 but yeah,
I mean, you do
somewhere in
really
there.
like it.
I do really like it.
I think you should lean towards the 4.5.
All right, we'll
I
do
think you should.
4.5 then.
Because then you have 4.5 rocket ships. One hasn't fully sprouted
Right.
yet. It's
yeah.
growing.
It's growing.
It's
yeah.
growing.
Man, I love that. I just love that concept.
I actually do too, and they look really cool.
They do look cool.
And I also like that it's a rocket. It's not a spaceship. It's a
Right,
rocket.
it's a rocket.
You know?
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm the person that liked it the least, but I don't know how low I would go. The problem is, I think the artwork is great.
It is.
I think the ideas, it has tons of really cool, like sci-fi and fantasy themed ideas, like the rocket ship forest and the like the fact that the blue bloods can like turn their arms to cannons, and it has a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
And like I said in the beginning, if this was me rating it solely based on quality, it would probably be like a 4 for me, 4.5, just like you, as far as quality goes. But for me, enjoyment level, my lowest score I've ever given is Umbrella Academy. That was 2.5. I think 2.5 is my lowest.
Yes.
I don't think I would put this below Umbrella Academy
Okay.
because, like I said, like the artwork and everything is really good. And part of me would even continue to go at this point because I've had to keep going, if that makes sense. Like, the first time I tried to read this, I stopped after like 1 issue. I never got to Isabella and stuff like that. Which is only like, what, 3 issues in?
I think so.
So now that I'm also somebody, I mentioned this, I don't have to like something for my curiosity to make me want to keep going. And I feel like I would potentially read a little more because I really like the aesthetics of the book.
Just kind of find out what happens.
I know this is a really long explanation of
That's
my rating,
fine.
but it's actually me trying to figure out what I would give it.
It's talking and thinking at the same
It
time.
is because that's what I do. I process externally, and that's why I talk so much on the podcast, is because I think aloud if I'm trying to formulate. That's how I am.
A lot of people do that.
But I mean, there are definitely people who don't.
No.
Like, it helps me to spitball ideas and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you go in the middle the way I did.
Well, I thought about giving it a 3. I thought about meeting you on the same point. But I don't know if I would.
So like 2.75?
2.75, which I never do. I always do halves. I don't do the
I
don't do the quarters, but that puts it above
not like
Umbrella, but it puts it a little lower than really half.
Yeah.
Because like content wise for me, it's just not my thing, and like the feel of it, I don't like the real feel of like everything's gritty. I like part of the reason that I like stories that are uplifting is because real life can be discouraging. So reading a story that can ultimately be uplifting, but everybody is kind of a discouraging kind of character sometimes is like, it's harder to get behind it. So I'll do 2.75. I'll go ahead and do 2.75. That's what I was kind of thinking. Ahead of Umbrella, basically based on the artwork alone, because I did not like Umbrella's art very much. None of us did.
But because I had to do the cover art for it, it was very basic geometric shapes. Like if you look at the background, the way the colors were, things that were shaded.
Are you talking about Umbrella?
Yeah. Like it's all like squares. Even the people were
blocky. They were blocky.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's like impressive. It's like paintings sometimes almost. I would give the artwork a 5. Like full 5 rocket ships for artwork.
Oh yeah, me too.
No question, man. Love the art. Even the art style, like the way the characters look. Dude, design, like actual aesthetics of the worlds and characters and stuff. All of this style, 5s.
Right.
Absolutely. Even when it wasn't what I wanted it to look like. Like the rocket, I didn't want it to look like a traditional cylindrical rocket like it did. I wanted it to be like a spaceship. But even still, my brain was like, oh, that's not what I wanted. But I still was like, that is really cool, like design-wise. So yeah, I'll give it a 2.75 on the whole, but 5 for artwork, no question. And design and aesthetics, boom, 5. So if you're somebody that only reads comics for the look of a comic, you could almost care less about the quality of writing or if there's any content like that, you should definitely look at this. Definitely look through it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, okay. Cool.
Well, I guess that wraps it up.
Yeah. Next week, we are going to be doing Ninja Turtles. We are watching Mutant Mayhem. Is that what it is? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem?
I think so.
That sounds right. And we are going to be reading the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. That is their ongoing, but we're starting with Volume 1, the origin, the beginning of that. So we'll make sure that that's all listed and taken care of. And if you're ready to read some more Turtles, something different than the last time, instead of looking back to the past at the original, we're looking to the newest series that they are doing. So
I'm looking forward to it. I also want to go back and read some more of the old classic stuff because I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely think that we'll have to pop back in eventually. At least one more issue, right?
At least.
One more time.
Well, I guess that's about it, right?
Yep.
I guess that means I'm Patrick.
This is Will.
And I'm Chris, and you've been listening to Guys with Issues. Goodbye.
Take it easy.
So long. You can catch the new issue of Guys with Issues each week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
Or check out our website at guyswithissues.com. where you can listen, find reading lists to follow along, and get to know us better.
You can also find us on Instagram at guys_with_issues and on Facebook at Guys With Issues.
Send us emails to longbox@guyswithissues.com and tell us your thoughts or send us suggestions on what we should read next. We would love to hear from our listener.
That's getting cut.
It is.
I know.
So
That should be a clip. Oh, that's getting cut. It's right before the page turn to be like,
Oh, that's getting cut.
Like, oh, that's getting cut.
that's dumb and funny, just like our podcast. So
Yes.
Truth.